A light aircraft that not only incorporates business jet features, but also adds its own unique ones that revolutionize the industry and win the hearts of the clients. Hello aviators, Sky here, and today we're meeting the cutest example of modern jet aviation. Introducing the Cirrus SF50 Vision Jet. To begin with, I think we need to get to know the creator of the aircraft, because many, upon hearing the word Cirrus, might think it has something to do with citrus. The company's story began in the 1980s. Ronald Reagan was making America great again, there was a war in the Middle East, and movie makers were scaring us with the rise of artificial intelligence. A couple of young engineers were asking a provocative question that sometimes crosses the minds of general aviation enthusiasts. Why, in an era of space navigation, desktop computers and space shuttles, are we flying planes that seem stuck somewhere in the 1950s? A desire to give the industry a little fresh air led to the foundation of Cirrus Design in 1984. Initially, it consisted of a group of former students building their first airplane in a farm shed, a classic Silicon Valley-style garage story. Cirrus, incidentally, is the name of a type of high-altitude cloud. The aircraft turned out to be a curious one. The Cirrus VK30 had an unusual layout with a pusher propeller and a piston engine, composite and quite large, with 5 seats. After getting it into the air and even beginning sales, Cirrus Design went professional, relocated to a factory at Duluth Airport in Minnesota in the northern United States, and began expanding its staff to work on new projects. Thus, in the late 1990s, the Cirrus SR20 was born. A little later, in the 2000s, appeared its brother, the SR22. And this pair was truly remarkable. Composite, streamlined, beautiful. And inside, side-stick controls, automation, displays, comfortable seats, finishing, exquisite. These were the Cadillacs of the general aviation world. And that wasn't enough. One of Cirrus's biggest bonuses was the creation of CAPS, Cirrus Airframe Parachute System, capable of bringing the entire aircraft down to the ground in an emergency, a huge safety boost. Some would say the parachute system, designer gadgets and displays are just show-offs for a ridiculous price. Cirruses aren't exactly budget-friendly, and more utilitarian airplanes are better, but the customers made their choice. The SR20 and SR22 were in huge demand, and Cirrus was shipping them in the hundreds. Riding a wave of success, the company decided to return to an old idea. Back in the 1980s, while developing the VK30, they considered replacing the piston engine with something more powerful, a turboprop or even a jet. At the time, the idea seemed too complex, but now the possibilities had opened up. They dusted off the old concept and began developing it at the company's special facility called Mooseworks. The new project was unveiled with a ton of mystery and suspense. Since 2006, Cirrus had been holding special meetings, hinting at something cool. Then they announced they were making a light jet aircraft, a personal jet with their signature parachute, all the bells and whistles, and yet super cheap, costing under $1 million. And after collecting pre-orders, they sent out puzzles that, when completed, revealed the first image. Finally, in 2007, when aviators anticipating the new plane had become as paranoid as modern gamers anticipating Half-Life 3, Cirrus finally publicly unveiled a mock-up, the Vision SJ50. Vision means both the company's vision and the V-shaped tail, while SJ stands for single jet. Yes, it was a single-engine passenger jet, a very avant-garde idea, considering all its peers were at least twin-engine aircraft. The SJ50 prototype flew in 2008, and testing was intense, with periodic modifications to the innovative design. Work was on schedule, and the order book reached 400 units, but that was 2008. Cirrus's impressive achievements had a downside: aggressive growth, massive investments, and debt. And when the financial crisis hit, they began to struggle. The market shrank, demand collapsed, and the company went from growth to survival, with staff layouts and project cancellations. This also hit the Vision, which continued to develop, but with significant delays due to a funding problem. The cost of the aircraft also began to rise. A jet for less than $1 million was no longer an option. They even had to change their name. Cirrus design became Cirrus Aircraft, and the SJ50 became SF50, single fan jet. Rebranding is like a corporate haircut. The struggle for survival culminated in 2011, when Cirrus Aircraft was sold to CAIGA, China Aviation Industry General Aircraft, a subsidiary of the Chinese state-owned corporation AVIC. This move caused a stir. It was unpatriotic. They would move production in-house, steal military technology, and so on. But there was no drama. CAIGA showed no hostility, and as cool as the Cirruses are, it's not entirely clear what military technology they could have. Although, in any case, for the company itself, it was better than going bankrupt and shutting down. And with new investments, a second wind was born. The SF50 certification returned to normal, and 3 more modified aircraft joined the first prototype. Finally, in the fall of 2016, having overcome all the challenges, Cirrus received the coveted documents. This was also a significant step for the FAA. The model SF50 became the first single-engine jet airliner to be certified. The name was again adjusted from Vision to Vision Jet. So, now that we have the finished aircraft, let's get acquainted with it. The SF50 Vision Jet is 9.42 meters long, with a wingspan of 11.8 meters and a height of 3.32 meters. Its maximum takeoff weight is just 2.7 tons, a tiny thing. The small Pilatus planes we've met before seem enormous next to it. The Vision Jet actually falls into the oh-so-cute class of very light jet aircraft, where it flies next to such birds as the Honda Jet and Phantom 100. Its layout also adds to its cuteness and uniqueness. The fuselage is teardrop-shaped, with an engine on top and a V-shaped tail. The white glazing and large windows give it a truly tadpole-like appearance. The wing is a trapezoid with flaps and ailerons. The tail is more interesting, with 2 large fins deflected to the sides and a pair of small fins at the bottom, also with rudders that prevent the aircraft from wagging its tail. The landing gear is tricycle and simple, with single-wheeled legs. When describing the airframe, one of Cirrus's key features cannot be overlooked. The aircraft is almost entirely composite, including the internal airframe structures. This gives the Vision Jet its lightness and aerodynamics. Metal hasn't been completely abandoned. It's used in the most stressed areas: the landing gear and control surfaces, ailerons, flaps, and rudders. Let's take a look at the fiery heart. The Vision Jet is a single-engine civilian jet airplane. It must have been a bit of a challenge with the aviation authorities. The engine is hidden in the nacelle on top, like a school bag. Due to the aircraft's design, the nacelle is angled, which raises questions. It's actually pretty clever. The air intake is flattened, with a curved duct running downward to the engine, which is slightly recessed into the fuselage. The nozzle, meanwhile, is angled upward, so the jet stream exits almost horizontally. This arrangement improves aerodynamics, and it eliminates the need for a pylon. However, having the engine almost in the fuselage adds noise to the cabin. Everything has a price. Again, the central engine placement is one of the reasons for the stylish tail. The jet stream passes over the fuselage between the fins, like on the Global Hawk. The engine itself is a Williams FJ33. It's the younger brother of the long-established FJ44 in the fan jet family. The 33rd is used in the lightest jets and combat drones. The Vision uses the 5A version, which produces around 1,850 pounds force of thrust, a hairdryer keeping the tadpole in the air. What does it all give us? The flight range varies from 500 miles with maximum payload and speed to 1,275 miles in fuel-efficient mode with only the pilot on board. From Chicago, you can fly to Washington, drop everyone off, and fly to the Bahamas. Max altitude is 31,000 feet, 9.4 kilometers. Not bad. Cruising speed is 317 knots, which is rather low for a jet. Minimum speed is only 67 knots, about the speed of a car on a highway, so takeoff distance is 858 meters. Landing distance is 582 meters. In these parameters, it is closer to turboprops. It's time to get inside. The door is hinged, with the lower section protruding like a ramp when open. The doorway is wide, and the front seats slide like in a coupe car, making entry much easier for both the passengers and the pilot. There are several layouts, but the base version features 3 rows with 2 seats each. The dense version allows for the addition of 1 more seat, bringing the capacity to 7, although the rear seat can feel a bit cramped. Behind the cabin, under the engine, is a fairly spacious luggage compartment. There are also some unusual layout solutions, like a removable toilet. It's certainly not the most enjoyable to use, but the Vision is positioned as a personal and family-friendly vehicle, and kids are kids. On a plane, you can't just take a quick break on the side of the road. In terms of comfort, everything is good. Considering the plane's external dimensions, the cabin is surprisingly spacious, 1.56 meters wide and 1.24 meters high. The atmosphere is excellent, the windows are large, and the in-flight pressure is decent, a bonus of the composite fuselage. The ergonomics are also very good. Tablet holders, cup holders, pull-out tray tables, and so on. The design is stylish and the materials are good. No luxury, it's not a Gulfstream, but quite decent. But the coolest seat on the plane is the pilot's seat. Considering that Cirrus's clientele is primarily regular people, not retired astronauts, they needed to make piloting the jet as easy as possible. We see a wide glass area with excellent visibility. We look down and wonder, aren't there too many screens? This is one of the Vision Jet's key features and Garmin's crown jewel, the Perspective Touch flight deck. 2 large displays at the top provide all the necessary information, and 3 smaller touchscreens at the bottom for input and system configuration. The system is user-friendly, intuitive, and packed with a huge number of assistants: autopilot, weather radar, stabilization, synthetic vision, error protection, and so on. Heck, the engine starts with a push of a start-stop button. The cockpit is a workplace in an airliner. Here, you're supposed to enjoy it. Side sticks are on both sides. Don't let them fool you. The controls are mechanical without fly-by-wire, but with their own automation. In the center is the thrust level, which, with the FADEC and other throttle, handles everything automatically most of the time. In fact, the plane does a lot of things automatically. Even a single pilot is enough. But we shouldn't exaggerate. The Vision still requires training and mastery. It's just that professional pilots, after flying a 737, might feel like they're not really needed here. And the most interesting part is yet to come: safety. We'd barely gotten used to the idea that twin-engine airplanes were safe to fly, and now Cirrus had to convince everyone that even a single engine wasn't something to be afraid of. The number of security measures here is extensive, from software to hardware. The aircraft's birthplace itself influenced the design. The Vision Jet is assembled in Duluth, a humid and cold region in the northern United States, so it comes equipped with a sophisticated de-icing system. A cool feature: that little bump in front is a nozzle that sprays anti-ice liquid onto the nose. Next comes the company's main feature: CAPS. A parachute system whose unit is located under the hood in the nose and represented in the cockpit by a large red lever. Pull it, the plane releases a mini rocket that deploys the parachute, and that's it, landing. The system is installed on all Cirrus aircraft and, in fact, has already saved countless lives, and the Vision Jet is currently the only jet aircraft equipped with such a system. And CAPS isn't all. There's another big red button in the cabin. When pressed, it activates the Safe Return system, which takes control, alerts ground crews, finds a suitable airfield and lands, completely automatically without human involvement. Oh yeah, stories like what to do if the pilot loses consciousness won't be so dramatic on the Vision. Immediately after certification in 2016, Cirrus began actively delivering aircraft, the order portfolio of which exceeded 600 units. At the same time, the company expanded its range of customer service, training, technical support, insurance, accessories, and everything else, an entire ecosystem. The combination of a recognizable design, personal transportation concept, technology, and ecosystem has given the Vision Jet a huge advantage in the market. These achievements have been recognized by both customers and the aviation community. For the first few years, Cirrus spent its career garnering prestigious industry awards. While it may be at the very bottom of the jet aircraft hierarchy, it practically dominates it, displacing most competitors, which are either larger and more expensive or simply unable to enter the market. Crazy demand is driving similar development. Vision jets have already received several upgrades, the G2, G2 Plus, and most recently the G3, improving functionality and performance. This same demand, however, is driving up prices, which have already reached $3.5 million. Even on the secondary market, the aircraft are becoming more expensive. What are the numbers? In 2019, the company delivered 81 Vision Jets. In 2025, they already made 106. And the pace is high across the entire model line, including the piston-powered SR20 and SR22. By the end of 2025, Cirrus has produced 797 aircraft. In terms of sheer numbers, the Duluth, Minnesota-based company is the most prolific aircraft manufacturer in the world and the undisputed leader in its niche of general aviation. By the end of 2025, more than 700 Vision Jets, more than 2,000 SR20s, and almost 9,000 SR22s have been produced. That's what it means to give the industry a little fresh air. What do you think, aviators? Isn't it a cool thing? Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new videos. Fast flights and soft landings to you.